Greetings and welcome back once again. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As the internet is still a buzzing, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I hope you are doing well. My name is Amuna, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're back, you don't know it already. I took yesterday off as I had other things to do. But I said, let me stop here real quick and have a little follow-up discussion on what we spoke about the other day. And everybody's speaking about it because it's news. It's so news. And someone said that people are getting bombed up in what's the name of the place? Overseas, in Ukraine. And we over here talking about a slap. It really just goes to show you where we are as a culture. But I think even more so than the celebrities that people get engulfed in and absorbed with, I think it really shows you the people who are viewing this. There were so many reactions, even today. I mean, all around the world, Australia, UK, everybody picking it up, everybody's weighing in. And the initial reactions is interesting that you're going to have that knee jerk reaction, right? To what you just saw. And then you're going to have when it sinks in a little bit, and then you're going to have hopefully when you process it. And that knee jerk reaction, um, some people hold to their guns. Once we think something, you just justify it. Yeah, he was protecting his wife, and you justify it, and that's the hill you're going to crawl up on and forever be married to that thought process. But I kind of like to see how things unfold, how people change positions, whether or not they're swayed. The reason being is that the more the facts come out, is the more we get to realize whether or not our reaction is based on what we saw or based on who we are, meaning our own personal issues, our own personal perceptions, our own personal, we project that onto as a people. This is why our bias is showing, right? I think that's what I mean. He was tired of being humiliated, but are we biased, right? When we see something, are we judging rightly? Or are we filtering what we are doing or seeing through our emotions? And 9 times out of 10, it's through our emotions. So when you look at how the crowd is split, you have mostly comedians weighing in, and the comedians are weighing in on the side of Chris Rock. A lot of them are weighing on the side of Chris Rock. Then you have people who know them personally, and they are weighing in on the side of, oh, in times past, I've known this person and I've never seen them do this before. And then you have, a subset of that, like, yeah, he did it. That was wrong, but I can understand how he did it. Why I think this is important, because in our own personal lives, right? When things come about and we try to reach out to people in our own space, we have to understand the same way that we have biases judging a situation, they have biases judging a situation, right? And so it's easy when we're not involved. That's not our business. We are not the judge. So we can have all of that stuff to say, what's going on, Judah? But when it is us, we're like, oh, mom is unfair, or grandpa is not seeing my side, or right, this person is not trying to understand me. And oftentimes, even if it's in a marriage, you may see somebody want to go to a third party. Why they want to go to a third party that has nothing to do with it? Because they feel like the people who are judging are biased. And so this is why I say a lot of the stuff that we see, welcome India to the conversation, we need to bring it home. Because if we don't bring it home, then we're just wasting our time being consumed with people who he ain't sending the Oscar to your house so you can babysit it, right? It's something to talk about. But if we don't see how these type of things, the way in which the society has just been polarized. Thank you for picking that up and throw it in the garbage. The way everybody has been polarized because they can identify with the man, or they can identify with the narrative. Everybody immediately spun a narrative, myself included. I'm looking at it and I'm like, we begin to knit together a narrative, and within ourselves we begin to search to say whether or not we would stand for or justify or come against that type of behavior, right? Based on our experiences. Somebody told me because a bully bullied me in third grade, that made me identify with that bully. And then you have people who are identifying with the bully because they feel like the bully did something wrong. And then you have people who are identifying with the bully because they feel like the bully did something wrong. And then people are saying that, oh, heard a number of people say that, but we assumed right off the bat, because that's what we do once we're offended, right? We assume that this person did it on purpose. This is what happens when we, as humans, do not process our reactions, and we jump before we can. There's wind in the mic. Hold on one second, because I got this window. I got the door open. Okay, I'll keep the back door open. I leave it. Let me know if that's better. It's a nice day today, y'all. Y'all know how I get when it's a nice day. Hopefully the wind cleared up a little bit. But come this way. This is my point, is if we can bring it home and look at how time goes. So for the people who's like, he wasn't wrong, but yet here he is on social media apologizing. Clearly, at some point along this conversation, he realized that he was wrong. Somebody convinced him to say he was wrong. Somebody typed up the letter. Maybe he typed up the letter. But after you calm down, you realize, nah, I could have took care of that a different way. And people are conflating the issue, and oftentimes people do. It's like if a man haul off and hit the woman because she says something slick, and he comes back and be like, I love you though. And the next day he issues an apology. That doesn't mean that what he did wasn't wrong. And so because we could identify with something, sometimes to hold these conflicting thoughts of this was wrong, but I can see why he did it, people come to where they're gonna, like I said, crawl up on the wrong hill. Let me see what's going on in the comment section. And so I just wanted to come back and talk about how it was projection. When I first saw it, I thought it was projection. When I first saw it, I said he was slapping Chris for the internet. He wanted to slap the internet, right? So what happens with so-called good guys? And I'm gonna come to the comment section. If somebody is a good guy, or somebody is a quote unquote pushover, or somebody internalizes a lot and they don't express how they're really feeling, they laugh it off. It builds up. It builds up. It builds up until the bottom falls out, right? There's a saying, every day you carry, I'm gonna say it in English, every day you carry your bucket, go to the well, one day the bottom is gonna drop out, right? Every day you carry that well, that means you're filling it up with water. One day, because of the wear and tear of that bucket, the bottom is gonna drop out. And I think what we experienced or saw was a break. Like, if that person say one more thing to me. And this is how sometimes in relationships where you're like, wait a minute, this didn't warrant the way you acted. What's wrong with you? Right? It's because the person has been taken and taken and taken and taken. Hold on one second. The person is taking so much till they can't take anymore. And then it's that one more person say something to me. One person say something I don't like. Let him come for me again. So, or you could have had a prior discussion with the person. So he and his wife could have already had this discussion. Like, yo, dude came at us a couple of times. If he come at us again, X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So it's like it's like how you see the memes on the internet, not today, thou shalt not try me. And we're just waiting for an opportunity to unleash on a person, even if that's not the person we are upset with, really. And that's wrong. That's called projection. That's called transference. And sometimes if you grew up in an abusive household and the parents or the elders or the guardians are the ones who's having the issue, but they can't get to the person who's upsetting them, they will transfer those things wholesale onto the young ones, onto the children, right? Because they don't know how to deal with what they're dealing with. They need to push that energy off. This is why I always talk about energy and transferring and all of the other things that I often talk about, because if we're not aware of this, then we will gonna just get in our feelings and be like, yeah, he was right, he was protecting all Black women. And it's like, bruh, no, that's not what happened. You colored that whole situation with some Crayolas. That's not what that was. That's not what that was. Let me see here what's going on here. That's a good point, because the views are polarizing. Yes, it's very polarizing. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So either we're polarizing and justifying, or that the uncomfortable truth of the matter is not. Right now, I see people are mostly on Will Smith's side, and they are spilling the narrative into something very new. It's the protection of Black women. You ask for the protection. You cannot declare what it looks like. It's like, wait a minute, pause, y'all. Come on now. This is not the donkey going to the right side of the road. This is something else, but we refuse to see what it really is. Now he went on stage and talked about humiliation and being tired of being humiliated and having to take certain things and not being able to take it anymore. And this is basically a result. And he justified it as, protecting his family. But I'm not even gonna front. The internet has no chill. Let's just say that the internet has no chill. Okay. And so, like I said, the internet, I think, is oftentimes 10 times worse than the paparazzi and the what did they used to call the little tabloids we used to see. Like, the internet has no chill. Like, right now we probably on 1,000,001 memes right now. They are digging in the crates right now. Okay, they are digging in the crates. But into this Hollywood conversation, it's interesting that the people who are writing the roles, the people who encourage you to do things that may be against your moral compass, those are the people, really. If you say you have to take humiliation based on what? This is a career path that you chose. This is something that you chose. This came with the territory, and you allowed yourself to be a part of it until you got to what you wanted, which was this Oscar. So I think it interesting that now you finally reached the summit. You're at the height of the mountain, and it is at this point that you can no longer take the ridicule. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that when we see these people who idols, was what I call them, when people call them celebrities, there's a trade-off. There's some type of sacrifice. You're sacrificing your self-worth. You're sacrificing your dignity. You're sacrificing your soul. There's many things that people are sacrificing to be elevated in your eyesight. And oftentimes it leads them into this very dark place. A lot of them are depressed. A lot of them are on drugs. A lot of them have certain type of habits that are not becoming. Why? Because they gave up too much of themselves. I think I talked about that in a video I did on idolatry and celebrity or something of that nature. But Judith says, also, does being tired of being humiliated mean that Black women can lash out physically too? Because I got some behinds. I can't. But yeah, that's the question. There's other people coming out saying, don't try this at home. You know what I mean? Just because you're tired of being humiliated, what is the next level? What is the next step that you go to? Where do we go from here? So that's a question that we can explore. Because who has been more humiliated than the melanated woman? So one would say he's protecting her. That's what he was doing. No, I think he was tired of being humiliated, right? But the wife was the catalyst, because she is part and parcel of his humiliation. That squeaky clean image began to be sullied by her free will to, pun intended, to expose all of their dirty laundry, right? So the humiliation wasn't only just coming from outside. The humiliation was coming from what you had an enemy in the camp, basically. You had an enemy in the camp. And she used that red table. Interesting, red is a sacrificial, oftentimes color that they use. And she hoisted all of your family secrets onto this table through microphones and blasted it to the world. So I think there's some misplaced anger, like many people are saying, or few, if any, are saying. But I also found it interesting, what one of the fellow comedians said, is that he would be suing him. Like, he would come the next morning, Jim Carrey, he would have a lawsuit, right, if he was Chris Rock. What are your thoughts on that? And what would you sue for? Now you can't just be slapping people willy-nilly. I agree. And I also agree that he had a break. But there's people around us who have a break. And like I said, I like to bring it on home that some people keep pushing people to the limit. Oh, they're not going to say nothing. Oh, they're not going to do nothing. Oh, I always act like this. I always behave like this. You have people in your house, or you have someone at work that you keep messing with, or that somebody keeps messing with you. It's either or, because you have these type of dynamics everywhere. You have bullies everywhere, from the schoolyard to the workplace, to wherever you are. You're going to have these personalities, because people will be people, right? And so whichever spectrum you fall on, the person who's always just acquiescing, the person who's always allowing other people to say and do what they want to do, or the person who's always coming in the room and bullying people, there's a certain point that people can break momentarily. They lose they cannot take it anymore, and they respond to you. And in that, I think some people are like, well, if you do what you do, you can't determine how the person is going to respond. And that's absolutely true. But there's also consequences for the choices that we make, right? And so instead of getting emotionally invested in somebody who ain't never gave you $1, you know what I mean? It's like, which one of these people am I? Am I Chris Rock, who is making the jokes and expect nothing to happen? Am I Will Smith, who just sits there and smiles and nods and just internalizes it all and takes it out in different places? Am I Jada Smith, who's just sitting there, the Spingali behind the scenes, the puppet master behind the scenes, you know what I mean, over there pulling the strings and making people feel away? There's another thing that the people have brought to the forefront. Is a few things is I actually forgot, but when I saw the clip, I was like, oh yeah, that was true. The humiliation went back to this conversation of men in dresses. The humiliation went back to Will Smith having an episode with Chris Rock in, what did they say, 1995, where Chris Rock has to dress up like a girl in a dress and they have to be on a date. So this is a long standing exchange of energies that are not necessarily on the up and up, right? What we're seeing is just when it bubbles to the surface. And there could have been many, many things that happened behind the scenes and in front of the cameras that made people unaware that there was a pre-existing issue between these two people. My point being, people are slapped. Somebody's probably getting slapped right now, and somebody's also justifying the reason. So if we talk about Purple Hearts and we talk about domestic violence awareness and we talk about workplace violence or microaggressions or, you know what I'm saying, assault, which is what this was, we cannot be biased is what I'm saying. Because if that's the case, when the shoe's on the other foot, the guy, because you say a man is going to defend the same way a man is going to defend his wife, a man is going to defend his ego. So sometimes when women are coming for the man's ego and speaking recklessly, are we saying what Kevin Samuels is saying? A lot of people out here talking about he was defending his wife. The man would defend his ego. Kevin Samuels said, because the woman does not low key feel, what did he say? There's not a low level threat of violence. The woman feels that she can say whatever she wants. So Will Smith brought a low level threat of violence, an open hand slap, so that Chris Rock could understand that you cannot say whatever you want. Are we saying Kevin Samuels is right? I mean, help me out, y'all. Help me out. Let me close the door. It's getting loud out there again. Uh, yeah, words do hurt. Words absolutely do hurt. But again, we teach the little child on the playground, oh, somebody said talked reckless to you. The little child will be in the principal's office if somebody spoke reckless to him and he just walked up and punched him in the face. You'd be like, yo, your child is unruly. We're taking him out and he has no manners. Mama, open this back door for me, please. Yes, I'm on the thing. Can I have a half? Half of what? Not just, did she give it to you? A bread. But Malay, Takoya, I'm on the thing. She's like, I don't care if you're on the thing. We're going to have this conversation. I'm going to stick you up while you're on live so you give me what I want. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go do a commercial break and I'll be right back to finish out this discussion. I'm going to drop the link in the box if you want to share. Hold on. For those who just joined us, welcome. We're having a conversation about not just Will Smith and Chris Rock, because they live in their own whole little world. The conversation is about which one are you? A lot of people are identifying because they're the one who will haul off and hit somebody and feel justified in doing it, right? They're the ones who a lot of people feel justified because they identify with the person for their behavior. So it's not whether or not we actually think that they're right or wrong. We just want to be right because we don't want to be wrong. Is if slapping you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Hold on. Let me play this commercial real quick. I'll be right back. Shout out to the Yummy Cottage. We have our syrups on sale. Let me, here we go. All right. We're back. We're back. We're back. 16, sweep 16, put it in the checkout. I don't know. I'm getting a lot of traffic to the site, but I don't, people are putting it in the shopping cart, but then abandoning the shopping cart. Let me know what's going on there. Why are we abandoning the shopping cart, everybody? Support the vibes. You know what I mean? Legit, we here. We've been moving 4 years going, building up ourselves to go to the next level. So definitely let us know if you have any questions or comments. Don't be just abandoning the shopping cart, people. You know, we got to keep this thing moving. But India says, I don't see it as protection of Black women at all. He was clearly guarding his own ego, in my opinion. That's what I saw, India. Because he was tired of being humiliated. He was humiliated behind August. He still came out, finished his book. He already exposed himself. Another part we have to consider is that he is hypersensitive in the fact that he just did an autobiography and exposed a lot of who he is and a lot of who he was. I'm not saying people can't grow. So not only were you humiliated up and down the internet, they got crying memes, they got everything, right? All of that. Let's just talk about how you started off your career. You started off your career with a show called 6 Degrees of Separation. That movie in itself was humiliation. So you put yourself in this position, I mean, pun intended, you put yourself in a position of humiliation that in and out of the last 30 years has brought you to culminated to this point, right? This is the culmination of all of that you were willing to sacrifice. And I think it's an attempt to try to regain some manhood to a certain degree, but yeah, he married his worst enemy, and it may be karmic. It may be some type of karmic debt because he was already married. According to him, when he saw Jada, he decides that the wife of his youth, as the Bible calls it, is not the one, and that he's, quote, married to the wrong woman, only for the woman to now, according to him, want to leave the relationship, and he feels justified in now going to this other woman who is the actual wrong woman. So just by listening and watching what's going on, sometimes when we can't see why we did something and that thing messed up our lives to a certain degree, it's karmic. It's some type of karmic debt. The sins of your ancestors will be revisited to the third and fourth generation of those that hate the creator, right? So to some degree, there's some type of karmic energetic debt that it has revisited him and that he needed to pay. And this is him paying, willingly or unwillingly. Sue the academy. I mean, I think everybody must have been shocked in that particular situation. It seems that people were shocked. You know what I mean? Like, what the way it happened, it looked a bit reckless. So I don't know. I mean, specifically, what's going on, Anthony Harris? But specifically, that's that. But as we bring it home, which one of these characters in this movie, let's say it's fake. A lot of people's like it's fake. Da da da. Let's say it is fake, right? Art can spark conversation and discussion. Which one of these characters do we identify with? Which one of them are we? What hold everything in one day, the bottom. If it was you, would you have answered him in a different way? Or is this just justification for bad behavior? This isn't about protecting Black women at all. This is about unspoken abuse measures that Black men, no matter how much she disrespect or embarrass or emasculates you, are obligated to defend her. I agree that this is not about protecting the black woman in this case. That's not what I saw. I think I more agree with India up top that this was about protecting his own ego by way of her, because as we already all know, it doesn't bear repeating. But you said black men, no matter how much she disrespect or embarrass. No, that part I don't agree with, because there's a lot of melanated men that is the ones who are doing the disrespecting. In this case, we have to be honest. We have two melanated men, Will Smith, the husband, and the relation, the acquaintance for however long they've known him. Let's just say from what we know from 1995 when he appears on the Will Smith show. She also worked with him, which they brought to my remembrance in the Madagascar movies. I think she's the voice of the hippo, and he's the voice actor of the zebra. Chris Rock is. So he has a working relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith. It's not like he's just talking to his wife and he knows nothing of her. He's actually worked with her in times past. That being said, it's moving between this being somebody I know in acquaintance and this being somebody's wife, right? So the whole "I love you, Jada" may be coming. Some people say it was softening the blow. Other people could say it was based on their relationship. But he had spoken about her in times past, and he chose to speak about her again in her presence. Some people say, "Oh, you talked all that mess because you wasn't in my face," right? Say it when I'm here. So Chris Rock spoke about her in the Oscars in 2016 when she wasn't present, and he spoke about her when she was present. So people got to make up their mind which one you want. Now, some people will say you can't talk about the man's wife, and that's another story for another day. But I think we already established here that did not give him the right to physically assault somebody. Anthony says, Chris, what's going on? Will was a little soft. It was clearly a joke, and he was butthurt. It's always funny when the joke is on someone else, but when the shoe is on the other foot, he want to cut. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. I'm done. Did you say beige rage? I'm done. I'm done with y'all today. Again, I think it's like, yo, they're laughing again. You have to also consider that in relation to the woman, it's in the same way where in certain countries, like in the Congo, right? Or there's certain places that I was reading about when they want to hurt the man, they rape the woman after they have already invaded the land. That's crazy. So in the same way, seeing the woman as an extension of himself, it's kind of like he laughed, but when he saw her, like everybody's saying, he now had to defend his ego, his manhood as the husband. He's jumping out the window to defend her because it's like Chris came for him. Like, yo, you got a bald headed wife, right? Even if he would have went on stage and G-checked Chris, I'd have been like, yo, that was wild, but okay. I think when he elevated the situation to violence is when I'm like, nah, you doing too much, right? Because just weights and balances, that weight wasn't justified. Some people say it is, and that's why there's so much violence in the hood. You stepped on my sneakers on accident, and I think I'm justified in using brute force. At the same time, if a police officer uses brute force, people are marching in the street. We got to make it make sense. And part of the reason why we, the people, are in the condition that we are in is because we don't have just weights and balances. That's just my thoughts. Let me know yours. Y'all better, you identify with Chris. I mean, you identify with Chris in this, okay? Because even Chris, to a certain degree, if to have a show like Everybody Hates Chris, right? There's a certain degree of whatever his life experience was, he's not the favored one, right? For whatever reason, for him to come up with a show like that, narrate the show. What is she doing? Narrate the show and have material for the show. I think, being the butt of jokes and using jokes as a defense may be something that's he's carrying. Yeah, I think it was a joke. Even if some people may say in bad taste, I think it was a joke, but this was a joke that went too far, I guess, for some. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it has anything to do with protecting black women. I don't think so. There have never been a lot of men abusing anyone. It's a minor. Verbal abuse is abuse. Physical abuse is abuse, emotional abuse is abuse. So I do think there is a lot of men that abuse women in the sense of either one of those abuses. There are women who abuse men. So there's a for the world to be in the condition that it is now. I have to disagree. There are people abusing people all over the place. You may not see it as abuse, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with that one. Yeah, they hired him to tell jokes. Yeah, the only winner is Hollywood. The only winner is Hollywood. They hired the comedian to humiliate. He said he's tired of being humiliated. Then you should be upset with Hollywood because that's what they do. They give awards and hire people to deface and humiliate other people, right? To make you bow so that you can, bow, and then they give you whatever they want to bestow onto you. So, I think he's mad at the wrong people. Yeah. Cause what Judah is saying, he flew into his emotions. I'm of the same thought process. Do you think he went into his feminine bag? Some people said he shifted into masculine. But if how are they saying women are emotional, right? This is I don't mean to get into the gender conversation, but people say women are emotional and their men are rational. But this wasn't rational. This was pure emotion. So did Will Smith dip into his feminine bag on this conversation? Question. Chris is dark skin unattractive. Why is that something? Why is his skin and unattractive? I mean, for some he'd be unattractive. For others, he may not be unattractive. Why is his dark skin something? Is that part of the I'm not understanding that part right there. I agree with that. I asked that question. I don't know who Ricky Javar. I don't know who that is, but Jerry Seinfeld, right? If it was Seinfeld up there, he wouldn't. I don't think he would have made no moves. If it was Ellen DeGeneres up there, I don't think he would have made no moves. I think he felt safe making those moves because he was familiar with Chris, because he felt indifferent towards Chris taking shots at him being paid excessive amount of movies for bad movies that didn't do well because he had a few flops. And if he pours all of his self, like people say, he's focused, he pours himself into his craft. And if his craft for 30 years has fallen, not necessarily fallen short, but not getting the accolades that he wanted. And here is somebody who he knows who's supposed to be quote unquote with him, and he chooses to um make him the butt of the joke, right? He feel a kind of way about that. Because even with that joke, it's if Jada's not laughing, then everybody's laughing at her and not with her. There's a difference if you're laughing too and everybody's laughing together versus the whole room is laughing at. And I think in that moment they may have perceived that they are laughing at them and not with them. Um, but it's also interesting to know, even though I don't follow the woman, she was on her Instagram or TikTok talking about how she doesn't care how other people feel or perceive her her bald head. So at one point, it's kind of like the Lizzo conversation that I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole new, what is it thing on Prime, Big Girls or something like that, where she's looking for big girl dancers. It's kind of like the same thing. One day you come out and say, "Oh, I embrace my excessive weight," and then in the next day you're crying about it. So it's that in between that makes people confused. So I asked the question. Yeah, he went into his bag, his over the shoulder sling bag. Most dark skinned males get it hard. The majority are often misunderstood and treated poor in comparison to light skinned males. Oh, okay. Because I was like, huh? uh Oh gosh, John, we flowing. How long we been flowing? 34 minutes. It took 34 minutes to John to come in here with these statistics that don't have no reference. John, where are you getting your statistics? John says the domestic abuse rate among Black Americans is likely. Oh, come on, John, man. Black men are often abusive. We see it in the manosphere. We see it on the internet. Not all, but there is a subsection, there is a part of society who prides themselves Oh, for instance, I was gonna come and share this story I came across. It was, and I didn't even know how ratchet this man was. It was Aaron Hall. Who remembers I miss you? Remember Aaron Hall? It was Aaron Hall. I don't even remember as a young person hearing Aaron Hall speak. He is raunchy. I said I was gonna come and do this because the baby mother, the what's the lady name? Can't remember now. I would have to do the story altogether. Long story short, the woman who had a child for him uh back in the day tells a story about Tupac saving her life and all of this stuff like this. The way this man was recounting how he met her, how are we going to say that melanated some are not abusive? The language, the reference, he got into a back and forth with Luke, who was notorious for the way in which they disrespected and abused women. I mean, to say that, John, I don't know where you've been, but there's too much evidence to the contrary that not all, I wouldn't say 50-50, we would have to get the stats, but there is abusive nature or element to it. I'm not going to go as far to say all men are abusive, but there's definitely ones who are willing to show their disregard and disrespect for the melanated woman by verbally, emotionally, and physically abusing her. So let's not play that game. Yeah, there's a possibility that a lot of comedians, even like Kevin Hart, there's people who develop this sharp tongue, this quick wittedness in joking as a defense mechanism. Why are we on to see, John? We're not about to jump the track. If this train jump off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Back on the scene. We are not going engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. We're not about to jump off the tracks, John. Yeah, John coming in here with these stats again, man. Um, Will was always an actor. Look at his rap career. Yeah, the Winosphere. Oh no, he didn't call him the Winosphere. Well, guess what? They have a far reach. I see other nationalities mirroring the talking points of the winosphere, as you call them. I see people thinking that they can bring this into real life. I'm hearing feedback of real life women who has experienced men who got their talking points from the winosphere, as you call them. So I don't think it's a small subset if it has already permeated a lot of the younger generation and even older generation. And so, yeah, it's something more than with millions of views. It is not a subset. You are permeating the culture with this thought process, just like the pimp movies, just like the black exploitation, just like the slave. All of this is beyond just this small subset of society. I think at this point, yeah. He was the original nasty man. I had no idea, Anthony. I had no idea because all I remember, I didn't like his voice. There was something in his voice that kind of like, nah, I don't like, you know what I mean? But when I'm looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, this dude was raunchy. Raunchy. Absolutely raunchy. Okay, John. We gotta remember that song, Engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. If that train jump off the track, you jumping off the track, John. Nobody's lying on anybody, John. We already had this conversation. Just like those who don't want to admit that Will Smith was wrong for his approach are just like those who don't see that quote unquote black men can be abusive and has been. I mean, it's the same thing. If we're going to say, nah, I don't see it. I don't see it. He didn't do anything. It's the same way we're pretending like this stuff is not happening. It's absolutely happening. It's absolutely happening. I don't even remember how he danced. I don't remember how he danced, but I remember. I'm like, no, 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 no. So essentially, in that story, I found it interesting that when he talks about meeting the mother of his son, she was 17 years old, right? So back in there, back in that time, a lot of this R. Kelly type behavior was going on. So when you say that who was there and why didn't people say what they said, it's because they were all doing it. It appears. They were all tapping the very young wells of these young women, manipulating them, getting in their ear, convincing them of X. She was 17, she says, while she was pregnant. We'll come back and play that interview. I think hopefully I saved it on my thing, but you know what I mean? I say all that to say, to pretend that this stuff wasn't happening. What man, is that some type of abuse? Is that some type of emotional uh manipulation that you get at a 17-year-old and you 30 something year old and you impregnate somebody's 17-year-old underage little daughter and proceed to abuse her, according to her narrative, that he was very abusive verbally, physically, you and almost sacrificed her up for fame. I'm gonna have to come back with that video. My point being, there's too much evidence. Even in, if we want to say the music industry, so far we have Dr. Dre, we have R. Kelly, we have Aaron Hall, we have some of these other people who have been known to be on record as abusing the women that they're with. Are we gonna deny it, or are we gonna pretend like nah 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 nah? That's just them. No, it's happening. And when you see some of this stuff in your eyesight, it makes you think that, yeah, I can get away with it, right? And some women will fight, and some women will leave, right? And some women will stay and allow all of that to, for instance, Will Smith is saying that his father was abusive to his mother and did it in his sight. So, you know what I mean? This conversation, we cannot say that people have not used violence historically to try to dominate situations and get what they want. That's just being intellectually, emotionally, and historically disingenuous. Okay. He danced like his leg. I don't remember that. Yep, it's pinned up aggression. It's transference. And is a level of projection. And all of these things, as we learn and we know, then when we come into situations, we can see, oh, okay, this person, this ain't got nothing to do with me. It's like, for instance, say somebody comes in from work, their coworkers got on their nerves, or their boss got on their nerves. They couldn't say anything to the boss or the coworkers because they don't want to be fired, right? So they come home and they take it out on you, or they take it out on the spouse, or they take it out on the children. Why? Because these are easier targets. They can't necessarily fight back. They are more vulnerable. And so, because the person felt vulnerable, they're going to transfer wholesale those feelings onto someone else so that they can now feel empowered. And the person who they just violated is now vulnerable. It happens every day. This is why sometimes it's good to decompress. Leave that stuff at the door. Don't bring that stuff into your home. So then therefore the child accidentally left this thing. It's a huge, oh my goodness, I can't believe you did this. The wife accidentally forgot to do something, or the husband, then all of a sudden you taking it on level 10, and it's not their issue, it's your issue, but you don't know how to deal with it properly. And so you try to pretend that it's theirs. I put the link in the box. I'm not going to stay all the way long, but that's just kind of my thoughts on following up on the conversation. How do we move forward with it, in the sense of learning from it? Boom, the wind is blowing today. In the sense of learning from, people love too much hype, yo. This is why I just was like watching, like, this is too much hype. And knowing y'all probably the same one going home, boxing up people, doing the most, you know what I mean, cursing people out, just having a whole toxic home environment, right? And then pretending to be Susie Homemaker and Bob the Builder when you come outside in the public. People do it all day, every day, right? And it's a matter of being disingenuous. It's a matter of being dishonest with yourselves, with your audience, and just with people in general. If I feel myself feeling away, I tell my children, hey, give me a moment. You know what I mean? I communicate, hey, so that you understand it's not you. I'm human, and I'm gonna need you to give me a moment. Please stop. So this is why sometimes I go live in the car. It's me just, chopping it up, saying what I have to say. Sometimes I just sit and be still, so that you don't just, oh, I'm angry from this, I'm upset from that, and you just wholesale give it to somebody else, especially children, or especially somebody who, quote unquote, society may seem as weaker. That's unjust. hey, I had a rough day. Now, if the person on the other side is like, I don't care if you had a rough day, you need to blah, 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 blah. And then the person goes off. This is where on the other side, oftentimes men are like, it's the woman's mouth. Because again, like we heard earlier, what did we hear earlier? Words can hurt. So sometimes the woman, in the sense of she's not hearing what the man is saying. She's not here because she has her own needs that she feels that he's not meeting. And he may come home from work and ask for a moment, and she just running off at the mouth for everything that needs to be done that wasn't done. You know what I mean? And then people say I can't justify, but then he transfers his aggression onto her, and that's called abuse. I think you dealing. Oh, True Diamond, I missed you guys. What are y'all doing in the comment section? I think you're dealing with pinned up aggression. Like, well, I'm done. Y'all stop, yo. Don't lie on me. But John, you see how that's interesting? The other day you projected. This is again, if we come over here, we're gonna deal with ourselves as well. The other day you projected on the Asha and you said that she was a swirler and she was this, that, and that from what you perceived, right? And she was like, she came on the mic, was like, yo, she clarified her position. Now, True Diamond is making an observation, and then you are over here saying, don't lie on me. But when I was saying, yo, ease up on the Asha and let her explain herself, you already, this is what I'm saying. Good for the goose, not good for the gander. I'm going to do to you, you can't do it to me. This is the base cause of a lot of confusion and problems in the world. You could step on somebody's toe, they better not step on your toe. Right? This is the whole situation that we're talking about. Sorry about the doors keep slamming. It's windy. Right? This is the situation, the golden rule. So now, when somebody's projecting onto you their thoughts, you're like, you think she's lying on you. Don't lie on me. I'm just saying. But that's the same thing on the other foot. You're willing to tell other people what's going on with them, what they feel, what they should or should not do. No, before that, John, before that, you were saying that she was a swirler and she wanted to be with Euros. Remember that part? So my point is you be doing the same thing, but when it come back, you don't like it. That's all I'm saying. Black men at large have a quiet acceptance of abuse. Uh, quiet acceptance? What is John talking about? Let us stay on topic. Let us stay on topic. Anybody have anything else to say? Let me know. Feel free to do so at this time. We're gonna wind down. I'm over here masterminding something right quick. Like I said, how are our relationships? You know what I mean? How are our relationships in our own sphere? These people, if anything happened, they're not coming to your bedside. Take your hand out of that for me. Don't do that. They're not coming to your bedside. They're not bringing you no flowers. You know what I mean? They're not bringing you a fruit bowl. So how are the people in your life? How do you speak to the people in your life? How do you communicate and deal with issues? If somebody gets you upset and say what you don't like, you're going to walk up to them and slap them. How do you resolve issues in your life? What would you have done better? Name a time when somebody violated you. How did you fix it? Did you speak up for yourself? Do you speak up for the person who somebody is attacking unjustly? Because all these people on the internet is not coming with flowers, bro. I'm just saying. Didn't nobody, you could check the tape. Again, let's be easy, John. Ain't nobody turned stupid. I address everything that I feel the need to address, and you could address what you feel the need to address. The mic is always open. So therefore, you cannot say what somebody else should or should not address. You have the right to address. All I ask is that people address respectfully. My point being, because I think you're missing it, you projected, and now you don't like when somebody's projecting on you. That's it. That was just what I was noting. Right. Who has checked on Chris? Question. Usually and that just shows you society. Once people feel that this person is right and the other person is wrong, like the other person no longer exists, even though that person, they didn't hit you back, they didn't cause a brawl, they didn't do all of, they didn't press charges, and it's like, yeah, forget you. You said my wife was bald headed. You made an observable truth. That's the part that oftentimes too, it's an observable truth, right? And here we are acting as if the person defiled the person. You know what I mean? I mean, the world is crazy. That's why I try to teach my children. You can't always go with the crowd, because the majority of people are wrong the majority of the time. That's what they say. The majority of the people are wrong the majority of the time. So when the majority going left, you really got to sit back and really think like, let me think about this. Just because they going left doesn't mean left is the way to go. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know this situation. He's been treated like, yeah, no, we don't talk about Chris. Yeah, the abused woman. Like, what did you do? What did we do? People do in society. What did you do to get him mad? What did you say for him to slap you? Right? That's how you deal with the abused woman. You don't say, hey, that dude shouldn't have hit you. You say, what did you do? You know he don't like when you only give him one piece of chicken. What did you do for him to hit you like that? What did you say? So this is a case of where the person who saw and witnessed abuse became the abuser, and felt how empowering it was to kind of take back your power and take power from another person. That's why in that moment he was hot. He was off on adrenaline. Like, yeah, and what? And then when he had time to settle down next day, you over there like, what did I do? Like, that was crazy. This is why they say don't chastise or discipline a child when you're angry. Because the power dynamic is off. The way you're coming to them. Some parents are out here disciplining their children in straight anger and fury. So therefore, you're not expressing to them what they need to know. You are upset and angry, and you're going to rain down on them and break down. That's not how. Wait till you're in a space where you could communicate effectively. Like some of these videos out here where you see what the mother or father used to beat you with, a switch, an extension cord, or this or that. Like, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't know what these women have gotten two men to do. I ain't never had no two men fight over, what did he say? Has any women in here gotten two men to fight over you? Anybody in here got two men, like yeasted up the two men so that they can scrap over you? Let me know so that we could test some of John's theories here. I said this the other day, I think, talking about abuse. Yeah, I mean, people often side with the strong. People don't want to side oftentimes with who's perceived to be weak. They want to side with the strong. That you want to side with the winning team. You want to side. So in this case, he's Ali. You don't want to side with the loser. He's Rocky in Rocky 3. You know what I mean? You don't want to side with the loser. So in this case, Will Smith is the triumphant one. And oftentimes people are siding with him because that's people want to be on what is perceived as the winning team. Yeah, let's stay on track. Yeah, so the women are saying so far, John, that they never excited or incited a riot or two men to scrap over them. So you might, if you can, if you come across any women that made two men fight over them, bring them through. By the way, I do interviews, but you know what I mean? I can do interviews now. I know I can get in my host bag. So if you have any people who you want to come on and they want to have a discussion, then send them my way and we can discuss some of these talking points that John has. I would love to see some of these women. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but so far we don't have any in the audience. And Judith saying neither have any women that she knows. They complain that the men are not protective enough. So on one side you have men who are willing to fight over the woman. But in recent, I've heard men say, "Oh, so you want the man to end up in jail, or you want the man to have to look over his shoulder because in this day and age, you don't know who you ran up on." According to the narrative, Chris Rock's brother said on site, on site. You already know what that means. So you don't know who's in the shadows and the wings, and whether or not people are playing these "I'll slap you" games anymore. It's not necessarily the "I'll slap you" games. I think they have graduated. I think they've graduated from "I'll slap you." Back in the day, the European men used to be like, "I challenge you to a duel." You know what I mean? And they out there 50 paces, turning around, shooting at each other. What in the world? What are we doing? What are we doing? Cutting off people's ears and stuff. What are we doing? Oh. She did say men are abusive, and I spoke to that. I don't know why John is so selective in his hearing. If you go back to that video, listen to what I said to her. Then she came up and I said my piece. She said what she said, I said what I said, but I don't think I need to wrangle people down to the ground with their opinions. When she said all men abusive, I spoke to that. So she did say that, and I spoke to it, and whoever else spoke to it. So I don't know what else there is to say. My point is that you projected that she was a swirler, and now when someone is saying what they're observing, you're saying the person is lying. That's all I'm stating. It's all good. Let's stay on track. He did steal on him, India. That's what I said. Like you didn't even square up. He stole one. He stole one. I agree. Well, it's not a winner. You don't sneak punch somebody and then run off back to your seat. What the box side? Where we do this at? What are you doing with hood rats, John? What are we doing with hood rats? How do we get to hood? Me not go over there saying anybody else have anything for say. John is always good for some excitement in the comment section. Yeah, people are passing on our slap you game. It's not what it used to be, fam. You heard what old boy said. Jim Carrey said a cool 200 and something mil. Like you gonna have to bring your lawyers out with a lawsuit on their behind. Yo, he wants some of that Oscar money. Like they gonna have co-parenting with the Oscar, fam. Like yo, at three months out of the year, the Oscar comes to my mantle, and then it goes back to yours. They're gonna co-parent the freaking Oscar. All right. If anybody have anything else to say, feel free to do so at this time. Hopefully, as normal, there was some information here that made us think, made us go back into our lives, see how we talking to people. Are we talking greasy? Are we talking slick? Are we manipulating one another? Are we dumping all of our issues and responsibilities onto the person who internalizes and doesn't speak up for themselves? Are we taking advantage of each other? Oh, here comes LF. LF says technically it's not a steal if homie walk directly at you after you say something that could be offensive. I mean, the way he was, I think it was, for me, it was a steal because he had his hands behind his back. The expectation wasn't that you would come in to hit me. And in that way, it's like somebody coming to you under false pretense. Yeah, you said something, you were joking, and you're standing there and you have your hands behind your back. If he thought he was gonna come for him, I don't think he would have took that stance. So it's like the person is disarmed, and then here you come, and then you see me disarmed, and then you wrote. It's not like he came. He was coming, but he didn't really understand that. Yo, I was threatened by him, right? He's like, oh, here he comes, and then I'm still standing there, not like, yo, oh, chill, he's coming for me. And then out the blue, he raises the pimp hand and then slaps him. I don't know. The way, yeah, it looks stolish to me. It looks stolish to me. It looks stolish to me. But again, we all looking. Yeah, he said something. Again, like I said in the beginning, for this particular conversation, this is a pre-existing. Please stop doing that. Don't do that. Go wash your hands. This is a pre-existing issue. It's not just, oh, you're going to star in the next G.I. Jane movie. Because contextually, the joke makes sense. Uh, Having alopecia aside, because many people did not know, contextually, you're at an award show. Contextually, she's an actress. Contextually, people get into character for roles. They gain weight, they lose weight, they grow hair, they cut hair, they do all of these things for roles. So contextually, the joke was, it was appropriate for the setting. This is an Academy Award where people win awards for acting and getting into roles. You beef up to be Ali, you slim down to be somebody else. You grow a beard, you do all of these things. This is what I'm saying. It wasn't like a misplaced joke. I mean, the Rihanna panty joke was more like, what are you talking about, than this particular joke. In my humble opinion, it fit into the conversation that was being happening. You're in role. You're in what they call it. You're in character. So I know other people disagree, but if I put out the analytical mind, put away the emotions, and if I take out my analytical mind and you analyze the joke, it fits in the context of the conversation. But because it had some overtones or undertones attached to other things, it wasn't perceived as that. John, has any hood rats ever made in what is this? Has any hood rats? Have you ever gotten into a fight over hood rats? Over a hood rat? Or any other brothers in the room? Have you ever been pulled into a fight over a hood rat? Ask the guy. I'm asking the guys right now, John. You a guy? Have you ever gotten to LF? Anybody else? Chris? Who else in here? All the other brothers in here. Have you ever gotten into a fight over a hood rat? Have you ever met a girl named Janae that you met on the train one day? You remember that song? Did you ever go to the wrong hood and Janae had someone else and then you got into a fight with another man over this girl? Has that ever happened to you personally? It's crickets now. Because sometimes when we go for these stats, then we just got to say, well, did that happen to me? Did that ever happen to somebody I know? I knew a lot of guys growing up. I don't remember any of them getting into the fight over the hood rats. Why are you crying, Judah? I got real questions, y'all. I don't remember it off the hand any hood rat stories of getting into fights over hood rats. So I'm just trying to ask you. I'm big and serious right now. Has anybody in here got into any fights? So far, the women are like, no, they didn't lie to the dude and have two dudes scrapping. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. India says her either. See, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it haven't happened. Some serious issues have happened over women. I think I'm gonna bring that cheaters conversation because some women, they be lying and saying this is not the boyfriend and this one is the boyfriend, and then these men, if they're about that life, they will get into a fight. I'm just saying, I personally haven't seen it. I've seen it on TV. I haven't seen it in real life. Oh yeah, the women are fighting over the men too. I ain't never fought over. So let me ask another question: has the women ever fought over a man? I'm not into fighting over a dude. If I have to fight some other woman, then she could go ahead. She could have that. Go ahead, my friend. You know what I mean? To me, that's a no go. Okay, so Judah says she has seen. Oh, we have one in the room. Judah says she's seen her sister fight over her husband. I ain't gonna say what she said, but she's seen the sister fight over the husband. And women do that. Women will get on the phone and start beefing with the other girl because of whatever the guy is telling both of the women. I will speak to a woman. I have, like, yo, what are you doing? But I'm not arguing and going back and forth with you, but I will step to you and say whatever it is that I have to say, as well as the men. Say what it. Sometimes people turn their. It depends on who the person is. Some people turn their anger to the woman, and some people turn their anger to the man. It really just depends. Oh my goodness, Judah, I can't. I can't. We changing the subject again. How these women will call their brother or uncle or cousin to fight somebody as if it doesn't fit the black man giver acceptance. I don't know who Safari. I don't know who that is. There are women who will call their kinfolk to get into squabbles. That is absolutely true. But I don't understand how that fits into this conversation. I'm done. Judah's over here blasting her brother-in-law. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. He can't stay out of prison. That is crazy. Again, resorting to violence as your main go-to, it illustrates the person's ability or inability to communicate effectively, right? It's a way in which to grab power because you can't seem to get it or obtain it any other way, right? We see even in the control system of slavery, the go-to was violence. Why? Because you're forcing someone to do something that in many cases that they don't want to do, and there's only but so much manipulation or cajoling or blackmail that you can do. So then the low level threat, so-called, or the high level threat of violence is there to remind the person to get in line and stay in line, right? And so this is about controlling another individual, another human being. This is when people oftentimes result to violence. Everyone wants to act silly now. That's not what anybody said. I know we like to jump. We hopscotching in here today. What time is it? I'm not. What time is it? 11? 1 o'clock? I'm not hopscotching today, John. When people give statistics, this is the thing that bugs me out about statistics. Statistics. You ready for this? Come closer to the phone or the computer. Statistics are supposed to be based on real people. So if we do a smaller sample size of people and ask them, we can kind of get an understanding, because statistics also comes from demographics. Usually the statistician or the people who are taking these polls or statistics are in a certain area. They're asking a certain demographic, which is an age group, a location, relationship status, all of that. So if you go to another room of people who are in the I hate men section, which is not this room, right? We're just having honest, balanced conversation, hopefully. You may get a different result. If you go into the, as you call it, winosphere room, you may get a different result. But in this particular room, it's not like people are playing this ain't never happened. And we cannot say it happened to us if it didn't happen to us. Why are we getting mad? We can't throw out statistics, and then when you ask the room and the room says, nah, that don't apply to me, we get mad. We have to look at the statistics. Or are the statistics made up? Who took these stats? Where are they coming from? What time period? Was it in a time period where people argued more and fought with their hands? Or was it in a time period where people got violent? All of this is important. That's all I'm saying. One would say that she instigated the violence. And even though I don't agree with what Will did, to say if we was in the court of law and you put her, you right now, you just put a charge on her. You say she instigated the violence. You would have to prove she instigated the violence. If you cannot prove she instigated the violence, then I can't go with that statement. We don't know if she told him or she gave him the look like you go ahead and go punch him in the face, or he saw her and he took it upon himself to do it. But to say that somebody instigated the violence, I did not see the look that would lead me to believe that she like, yo, you better go do that. I don't know. That part may have been cut out. I don't know. But that's the part where I can't be like she instigated in this particular case if I didn't see her instigating it. Not saying she did or she didn't. I just can't say she did because I didn't see that part. Anybody want to jump on the mic? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and wind down. As always, it's been Liddy. Thank you for those who always come at the end. Let me play Queen T's. Shout out to Queen T. The love the people. Let me go ahead and play Queen T's commercial, and we'll be right back for closing thoughts. Bam. All right. They running up on me to take a walk. So I'm about to take a walk because it's a beautiful day. Hope you guys get out, get up, and get something. India. Yeah, I don't know. Right. Now I'm asking you, John. You the one who made the thing. Did you see what you're asking us to ask people if they saw? Have you seen it? That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen women? I've seen it on World Star Hip Hop. I've seen it on the TV. Have you seen women fighting over men? You're a man? Have you fought over women? Does this only occur in the ghetto? Is this something that happens across the board? Um, you know, you came up with the stat. I'm just, trying to see what's going on. All right, everybody. With that said, hopefully we go on. This is Wednesday. It's been rocking the airways for 3 days. Hopefully we can move forward and continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to implement things in our life that that make us better. You know what I mean? Like, dude came back and apologized. How many people apologize when they're wrong? When they realized they were wrong, he came back. He wasn't wrong and strong. He came back and apologized to say, hey, I did something wrong and I'm issuing an apology. How many people are talking about that? Would you have done that? Would you have done a video apology? I think the word apology was a little bit of, it was in the right direction, but it wasn't in the same measure that you did it. So let's see your face. Let's see, strike up the video, go live, tag Chris Rock, something that shows that in the same measure you did it, you was willing to make the correction. You know what I mean? But it's a step in the right direction. And how many people who've done come back and say, you know what, I did wrong. I think we having different conversations, John. We could come and talk about that. Sam Jackson, see, didn't nobody even know that. Won his first Oscar, didn't even nobody know that. I don't even watch the Oscars, people. Didn't nobody even know that. You see what I'm saying? So again, sometimes our behavior or our bad behavior overshadows so many things and so many other people's moments. You have people who will cut up at somebody's wedding or cut up at a birth. I've had someone cut up at the birth of my child. Cut up. And you're looking like, what? Right? People will wait to big moments, huge moments. They'll be chill and cool the whole time. You'll be like his mother said, this is uncharacteristic. I have never seen this person in this way. And they wait till these very special, once in a lifetime moments to show who they really are, who they've been waiting to be. I mean, it happens. But I've had enough of this conversation here. So hopefully we can move on to others and move forward. So if anything that you'd like us to talk about, I have have some time to go over, I will look forward to doing that. But with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to take these good words on a roll. So until we meet again, everybody have a blessed day. Play my little music here.